In this video, I'm going to break down some key tips when performing for a close-up private setting. There's a bunch of valuable pro tips sprinkled throughout this video, and this is an absolute masterclass on one of my favorite card magic effects of all time. What is good, guys? It is Reed, and welcome back to Give Me a Breakdown episode 21, where I break down part 1 of the no one touched her but she felt something close-up magic performance video. Now this was a performance from a gig I did many years ago, but it is an awesome performance. This video is super unique because I think it represents a lot of the performance situations that a lot of you guys will find yourself in. It's a close-up private setting. So this is similar to you performing for friends or family, and so there's a lot of great insights you get from this video. Part 1, I'm kind of all over the place covering a bunch of different things, but the main routine I'm going to be going over is a thought of triumph, where the card is truly thought of. You also get to see how things go wrong and how I kind of save that, which is super neat, and get a bunch of tips on that. And then in part 2, it's going to be all mentalism. So part 2 will be out in a couple of weeks, so make sure you're subscribed, hit that bell so you don't miss out on that. As always, guys, if you'd like to check out a private lesson where you can get one-on-one help from me, the absolute best value in magic, links are down in the description. Or if you'd like to learn the best mentalism here on YouTube, you can join my mentalism membership right here at the link in the description. I just want to thank all the members who have joined, and I hope you guys are enjoying the content. I just put up an absolute killer effect on Friday. You do not want to miss that one. But with all that said, guys, let's not waste any more time and let's jump right in to the video. All right, so this is from a close-up gig I did a couple of years ago. Let's see when I posted this. I posted this 2 to 3 years ago. So this gig was probably like 3 years ago. This gig was really fun, and I'm so glad that I got it on video so that I could share it with you guys. It's split up into 2 parts. I will link part 1 up above. I've also already broken down part 1, the video from part 1, so if you haven't checked that out, I will link that up as well. This group was a whole lot of fun, and I kind of got to a point where I got to do a lot of my normal material, and then they were still really into it and wanted me to keep going, so I got to do a lot more experimental stuff that I don't do a whole lot, and it was a whole lot of fun. There are a couple tricks in here that I did for the first time ever, was in this gig, I remember, so I'll give you guys a lot of those kind of behind the scenes stories and secrets and let you in on some of those tricks. So this was a lot of fun. It was just like a private, house party sort of gig. I think this is a really unique scenario because this is like a close-up private party sort of situation, which will be similar to probably what a lot of you guys experience when you're performing just for friends and family. It's not like street magic stuff where you're going up and you're just approaching random people. It's more in a closed environment, a controlled environment, and you kind of got to keep everyone's attention. But you'll also see there's different levels of people. There are people who are drunk here for sure, people going crazy, people not so focused, and so you can kind of see how I deal with all of those. I think these tricks in this video were from a little bit later on, and so I'm kind of at the point now where some people are kind of starting to fade out and just do other things, or they're too intoxicated to focus or whatever it is, and so it's kind of whittling down to a smaller group now of the people who still really want to see stuff. And anyway, so let's get into it. This first trick here, I believe this is a really cool little triumph variation, so let's watch the first bit of it and then I'll start to give you guys some insights as to what's going on here, because there's a lot of cool stuff going on.
I want you to think of any playing card in the deck, okay? One that you can remember but you don't think that I'll guess. The one that you won't forget. Let me know when you've committed one to memory.
So that's actually kind of an important moment. I clearly, and you might be wondering, like, why did you so clearly emphasize, one that's unique and one that you won't forget? In this kind of environment, you really run the risk of people forgetting their card because of the alcohol and the nature of the environment. So I kind of want to balance the 2 aspects, which is, 1, I want them to pick a random card. I don't want them to just go for an ace or something like that. So I always like the line about, don't go for an easy one, go for one that's truly random or something like that. Sometimes I'll even mention, everyone picks an ace, that sort of thing. But then the downside of that is they might pick a card that's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to remember when they're already in a state where memory is not the strong suit, right? So you'll see here how he kind of really takes his time, and when I first ask him, he kind of has a face like, whoa, like, okay, hold on, I got to think now, right? So just be careful in these scenarios. You know, this might be a situation where a think of a card trick wasn't the best option here. You know, or if you want to do a think of a card trick, you could always have them write it down on a billet and just keep it in their pocket, or having them pull out the card and show people so multiple people can see the card to remember. A lot of options here, but what I was kind of going for here at this point, like I said, I've kind of got through a lot of my normal material. You know, I've done unshuffling the colors, I've done shuffleboard, I've done my A-can, which if you want to go learn, I'll link it up above, the best A-can in the world, right up there if you want to go learn it on my website. So I'm kind of in a situation now where I can kind of do what I want. I've won them over 10 times over, right? I've done some amazing magic already. I've done some incredible mind reading. And so now I'm just kind of continuing the excitement. There isn't as much of a structure to this. There's no opener, middle, closer. There's no kind of crescendo. I already, you know, finished with my closer. And so now it's just kind of more magic. And that is a really unique position. And if you're ever in that situation, guys, this is what I would recommend. If you can find yourself in a position where you've already built the rapport, you've won over the audience, and they are just really a great audience. They're eager and excited to see more, and you've already done a lot of your material, pull out these tricks that you don't get to do as much. Pull out these more risky tricks. Try the bold propless mentalism. Try the fun card tricks that aren't the easiest workers or have a lot of process that are really good that you want to test out more. For me, I kind of am using this a little bit selfishly too, because these are some tricks that I've always wanted to get on video. But sometimes, you know, street magic is unique because I can often kind of plan out, and I do plan out the sets that I want to do when I approach people, and I have a good idea of what that is. And a lot of the time when I'm filming street magic, because the goal of filming, like I'm doing it for free, I'm doing it for myself, right? It's more of a selfish endeavor. I'm doing it for the channel. Yes, I want to share the gift with people, but the main goal is for me to get a high quality video. So I'm very cognizant of what tricks I do, trying to do different tricks and do unique tricks and do things that are really out there, maybe more bold, new methods, always keeping things fresh for the channel, right? And so you do see the same tricks come up from time to time in the street magic videos, and that's usually because I always open with the same, you know, handful of effects: 2-card Monty, unshuffling the colors, triumph, transposition. Like those are the four that are pretty much the openers for all of my street magic. And so I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here. I think this is an important thought, you know, and I'll script out these sets for street magic. You know, if I have a riskier trick I want to try out, I'll throw it in the middle of a set, and I'll use one of my 4 openers, and then I'll close with one of my heavy hitters. And that's kind of how I formulate the set. So you get all these unique moments, and it looks really cool. That's why you kind of see some of those same tricks over and over. It's just because I use them as the opener, because I want to do something I'm comfortable with to break the ice with that new group. All that to say, if you find yourself in a situation like this, everyone's comfortable, relaxed, you've established your credibility, and people still, you know, you kind of done your set, you still have more time, people want to see more, try these risky tricks, experiment, have fun for yourself too. Like I said, I a little bit selfishly here did some of these tricks because I just really wanted them on video, and that's, I think, what's going to happen a little bit in this trick. It's a variation of the triumph that I never do, but I really wanted to get you know, a clip on video. And so, like I said, maybe not the best choice of effect for this environment, but this was kind of just all for fun at this point. I gave you some ideas if you're having someone who seems like they might forget the card, but let's keep going.
Quick pause in your regularly scheduled program. I just want to let you guys know about my Mentalism membership. For the price of like a coffee or two every month, you get access to dozens and dozens of Mentalism tutorials, 2 new tutorials being added every single month. This is an amazing place for you to start your journey as a mentalist and learn all the fundamentals. It's also an incredible place if you're more experienced to learn incredible effects, brand new ideas, new methods that you may have never seen before. People have been loving the membership. I've gotten great feedback. Currently, I'm breaking down the godfather of mentalism books, Practical Mental Magic. I'm breaking down every single effect, every move, every detail, every plot. I am not just teaching the tricks as they are. I revolutionize and update every single one of these effects. I will also be adding custom master classes. You will get some of my best unpublished material. And the best part is it's all right here on YouTube. No Patreon, no external services. All the videos are right here on the channel. All you have to do is head over to the link in the description and sign up for the mentalist tier of my membership. I hope to see some of you over there on the membership. Now back to the video.
Sure. You got one? Yes. Don't change your mind, stick with that one, okay? So here's what I want everyone to do.
Another thing, when you have people think of a card, it's always important
to say and clearly emphasize, okay, that's the one we're going to use, stick with that one, keep that one in your head, you know, depending on the method and all those kind of things. It's very important that they, you know, sometimes it's not clear, you know, they think, oh, well, he just let me think of a card, so if I pick another one, it's not a huge deal. So that's an important moment to emphasize.
Take some cards, everyone, here.
I think we also saw a little bit of a cut there, actually. Let's back that up for a second.
Don't change your mind, stick with that one, okay? So here's what I want to...
So there was a bit of a cut here. So this is where things get interesting, and this is why this is a variation. So like I've talked about before in other, you know, breakdown videos, and this is where you'll kind of get this insight. If you ever wonder how some of these tricks are done, a lot of the times I, you know, kind of give some hints in these videos, in these breakdown videos. So this was what I call Cognito Triumph. So if Cognito is ringing any bells to you, that will give you a tip at the method. So Cognito is a really cool app by Lloyd Barnes. It came out, I think, through Murphy's like 3 years ago. I won't lie, it's been a little bit like lag, you know, had some lag issues as of late. It's just a little bit slower, I think, as the new iOS updates, and I think it's available on Android too, but as the new updates are coming out with the phones get newer, you know, that's the problem with some apps. They don't, I'm not saying this didn't get maintained. It still works. It's just a bit slower than it used to be. You know what? It's running totally fine. I've just, from one time to time when I open it now, because I don't perform it quite as much, it just has seemed a little bit slower. But you know what? Testing it now, it seems totally fine. And it wasn't slow that it didn't work. It was just a little bit slower. And I just wanted to mention that. But you know what? It seems totally fine. I still think it's a great app. It basically allows you to do the binary system. If you don't know the binary system, it's basically if you can get 6 yes or no inputs, you can deduce a list from, I believe, about 63, 64 items. You can figure out which one of those items they're thinking of just by putting them in certain groups and having them say, yes, it's in this group, no, it's not in this group. You can reduce it down from 64 to 1 just by 6 simple yes or no questions. And now there's a ton of different interpretations of this effect. There's been stuff like Lucky Lotto and EDC and all these kind of different routines that use these sort of principles with the binary and coming up with different ways. So you're not just, you know, showing them a list and saying, hey, is your thing here? Hey, is your thing here? So there's a ton of different ones with Cognito, right? There's face-up playing cards, all this stuff. What I love about Cognito is you can do your own custom routines, your own custom effects. So I worked super hard on, I have 2 custom presets that are Reed Fairy originals. You can get access to those if you purchase Cognito and you join the Facebook group. The first one is called the Influence Force. Now the Influence Force is probably the most versatile thing you can do in Cognito. You can force playing cards, force numbers. You can divine thought of playing cards, divine thought of numbers. You can do drawing duplications. You can force things. You can do number predictions. You can do word predictions, all within this one little preset that I developed. And the justification, I'll give you guys a little bit of behind the scenes. So the justification is you have these lists. So in this case, it says popular cities, and there's all these cities. And by the way, I have a full tutorial breaking down all of this. If you join the Facebook group, you know, I've made a full video, you know, it's hidden on the channel, but you can get access to it there, kind of breaking all this down. But essentially you would say, hey, I have these lists. You'd have them think of a number, and then you'd say, I want you to create an image in your mind. And now you might not find your number on all of these lists because I just took random numbers off the list, right? So not every number's here, but you're gonna create your image. So there's popular cities, celebrities, animals, and as you go through, you're gonna create your random image with whatever, you know, items you can find at your number. And each time I go through, you know, I say, does this help you build your image? Yes or no. And that's kind of how I'm getting my binary input. And then by the end of it, there'll be a list of random words, which does something really cool, which I'll keep a secret, which allows you to achieve my Influence Force routine. If you've ever seen me perform the Influence Force, that's a routine that a ton of people have asked me about. The backbone of that is this preset. If you haven't seen that, it's in the part 1 video from this set. I did the Influence Force on these guys and it killed them. They loved it. Then once you go through all this, it'll tell you not only what number they're thinking of, but what playing card they're thinking of and all of the images that they're thinking of. And then you can use those in all kinds of different ways. For drawing duplications, for guesses, you can, you know, just guess the name of the animal or celebrity or the playing card or the number, or you could do all of it. Like I've even done drawing duplications where I have them mash all these things together in this crazy image of Iron Man riding an elephant in, you know, in the Arctic or something like that, right? So anyway, I've went on a bit of a tangent here, but Influence Force, that's one of my presets. The other preset I've created in Cognito is called Matchmaker. So this is a dating style routine where they think of a trait. So they think of a personality trait, right? And it's really cool because you can say, think of a personality trait, and 90% of the time, their personality trait will be one of the ones that I have included in the preset. So what I usually do is I have them just think of a trait, not, pick one from the list. I say, think of a trait, and then I say, do you see your trait here on this list, just to confirm. 90% of the time they say yes, so it feels like an even more free choice than just these 30 traits. Now they go through and they have an option, it's like a dating app, so they can go men or women. So let's say we choose women, they swipe, and then it'll give you these dating profiles of these different girls, and it'll have their personality traits written down there. And then you just tell them, well, if they match your trait, I want you to like them. If they don't, I want you to dislike them. And that kind of gives you a hint on how one of the input methods works for Cognito. And so by them swiping here or here, it's actually registering the input as a like or a dislike. And based on that, they go through several girls, it'll give a match. Now, this match doesn't really mean anything to them. It's kind of just part of the effect. There's a secret crib in here that tells you which personality trait they're thinking of. It's hidden right in plain sight, and it can even be like a peekless peek where they have your phone. You don't even need to take the phone back. You just ask them what are their hobbies, and the hobbies actually have a crib secretly hidden in the hobbies. I'm not going to spoil it, but again, you can get this preset once you buy Cognito and go to the Facebook group and just search Matchmaker, I believe I called it. And then there's some other cool things down here with what the traits say about the person, and in here there's a secret force technique to force the word success. All kinds of crazy stuff built into all these presets. So there's the Matchmaker preset and the Influence Force. Those are two that I designed original. I did all the images, all the design work. Anyway, a little bit of a rant, but Cognito's super cool. There's a lot of other preset routines. I've used it for star signs. I like the playing card one a lot. I don't perform it as much as I should. I still really like it. Some people didn't like it, but I think it's great. Why do I bring this up? Well, I wanted to do a triumph with a thought of card. And so at the time I was really high on Cognito, so I actually did the Chaos Reveal, which is the playing card one, but I did it as a peek. So I just peeked the card he was thinking of, and so that's what I cut. Again, when I'm doing these things on video, sometimes I'm thinking of the video in mind, and so I want the effect to hold up on video. I want it to be as strong as possible. I want it to seem impossible when people are rewatching it and rewinding it. So sometimes you make these decisions when you're filming a video, and I think that's totally fine. In this case, there was kind of some pre-show or some pre-video that you don't see, right? And I think that's totally fine. I think it's just, it's a way to make the best video. So there's a little tip. That's how I kind of achieved this effect. So right now, we're going into the Triumph. For the video, I made it seem like the trick's just starting now, but in reality, we had went through this Cognito process. On a side note, I will be dropping the Influence Force tutorial and the Matchmaker tutorial on my membership for free for the members. If you guys are interested in learning that, you can also join my membership. You will still need to get Cognito so you can have the app to perform it. I think it's only like $40 or so. Last time I checked, maybe with inflation it's gone up. But anyway, let's continue with this effect.
Take some cards, everyone. Here, Matt, take some. Yeah, we're gonna do a special shuffle. Face up and
So I've talked about this before. When you're doing a Triumph, first of all, if you're doing any kind of spectator shuffle Triumph, absolutely give everyone some cards. It's a great, easy way to get everyone involved. Always keep a small packet for yourself, especially when you're doing a Triumph, because when you say, I want to shuffle cards face up, face down, or we're gonna give them a special shuffle, if you just say that, people often don't really understand what you mean, or they're very hesitant to do it because they're like, really, you want us to mix them all like this? So it's really good if you can actually have a packet where you can just show them how you want them to mix it real quick, and then I'll usually hand that packet to someone else to continue mixing. But small little pro tip that'll really save you a headache and kind of a lot of time when you're doing a Triumph.
So you can take them face up. Here, you can help too if you want. Face up and face down. So you mix them just like kind of we did before. Make a big mess on the table.
And if you have a table, man, I think the visual is just so beautiful for Triumph. If you can do the whole table wash, all the hands reaching in, flipping on the table. I just think it's an absolutely beautiful moment in Triumph that you should never overlook if you have the scenario and the method to allow you to do it.
Perfect. All right. Now here is what I want. I want to show you guys the state of these cards, okay? Look. Everyone remember, sort of.
So this is important, right? I'm kind of overemphasizing the fact that these cards are mixed. They have all the chaos, they have the memory of them touching it, but I'd like to show them one last time. This is serving two purposes. One, it's allowing me to spot his card, because I need his card to be face up, one of the face up cards, so that I can, achieve the method to get it into position. I also like to burn in this memory and really kind of state the obvious, right? We've talked all about stating the obvious. I'll link a video up there, but this is kind of falls into that category. I'm overemphasizing, really making sure they understand the impossibility so that the inevitable payoff, right, the reveal can be as strong as possible.
This looks like, okay? You can see all the cards in a...
So you see, I'm assuming I obviously didn't see his card in the other side. So then I flip it over and spread it on this side again, just to double check and make sure I didn't miss it. You know, sometimes you go too fast, you don't see it. So I want to make sure that I spot it face up before I get into the method.
Total mess, correct? Get a good look.
You can see there was a little pause there, and I definitely was, the cogs were turning. I was searching for his card because I obviously wasn't seeing it, and that was kind of that little pause, almost a little bit too long, but I'm kind of just trying to play it off as, you know, giving them an opportunity to see the cards more.
Remember any of the cards that were on this side? Anyone?
In fact, now that I've seen me do this, obviously I didn't see it either of those times, and I'm spreading it a third time back on the first side because I must have went too fast and glanced past it. That would explain why the second time I took extra long to look, because I'm like, hold on, where is it? So now I'm flipping it back over, and my excuse was, did you guys remember any of the cards that were face up the first time? And again, these are the things that, like, I don't think people should stress too much about. If things don't go perfectly according to a plan and there's mistakes, you know, don't be afraid to just slow it down and just kind of freestyle another little patter point. And for me it was, hey, you know, could you guys remember any of the cards that were face up the first time? Like, that doesn't mean anything, it has nothing to do with the effects, but it just gives me that little excuse to flip the cards over and look through one last time. As long as I have something to say, and it doesn't need to be the most logical thing, it just needs to be semi-justified, right? Just me simply asking them a question. I could even have said to him, like, I'll spread through, just take a look. Did you see your card on this side? Just take a look for me. You don't have to tell me what side it's on. Just look, and I want you to spot your card somewhere in the middle, right? And I could have flipped it back over to have him do that. Whatever it is, it's giving me the opportunity to save the trick. Because what's the alternative? The alternative is I panic, I guess what side it's on, I start doing the method, and then I get either 50-50, I'm either right or I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I just screwed the whole trick. Sometimes I see magicians, they're panicking in a performance, they jump the gun, and they just like to say, oh, I'll just take a chance. Why? Why not just do something like this? Slow down, take a few steps back so you can move forward and have an amazing effect.
No. Do we have all the cards here? Did any fall? I just want to make sure everything's here. All right. So here's what we'll do. We got cards obvious.
Okay, so let's correct what I just said before. I just spread it a fourth time, so you can see what happened here. So I spread it 4 times. The first time I went too fast, I didn't see a card. I flip it to the second time, and I'm a little bit more, okay, I gotta find the card, I'm starting to rush here. I flip it the second time, I look through, I don't see anything, I take a pause, I'm really looking carefully, obviously starting to panic a little bit, so I don't spot it again. So I'm like, okay, I must have missed it on the first side. I flip it, spread it, again, I don't find the card on that third time, and I use a justification to allow me to flip it for the third time. And at this point, I say, wait, do we have all the cards here? Did any of them fall? Because I know it's a 52 card deck. I can't find his card anywhere. So my gut instinct is a card must be missing. His card must be missing. So now I'm trying to look for it, see if it's on the floor, see if it fell, if someone took it out. Now imagine I did find it on the floor. Then we have a real miracle. Thought of card to the floor or wherever it ends up being. Like, you know, that's how I would have transitioned this. Luckily, I decided to spread it a 4th time, just kind of saying, hey, are there any cards missing? And now I spot it. Now I did spot it. So let's take a quick look at that whole sequence. I think it might be interesting to see something really going wrong where I should have spotted it by the second time and me having to come up with more excuses. And you'll see it doesn't feel too unnatural. It just kind of feels like part of the trick. I'm showing them both sides. I'm asking him to look for his card. I'm asking if all the cards are there. Just simple pattern points to kind of cover everything. So let's watch that sequence quick.
The state of these cards, okay? Look. Everyone remember sort of what this looks like.
If I look, I don't see it.
All the cards.
And I'm going to look a little bit more carefully because I think it should be here. Looking carefully, really don't see it.
Good look. Do you remember any of the cards that were on this side?
Justify.
Anyone?
Do you remember any of the
No.
cards on this side?
Do we have all the
One
cards
last
here?
look.
Did any fall?
Now I'm starting to
I just
really
wanna make
panic.
sure everything's here.
Look for it on the floor.
All right.
A fourth spread.
So, here's what we'll
and
do.
then I spot it right away and we get into the trick.
We got cards obviously that are face up and face down. I want you to just think of a card. No, the one from before. Just think of it. You got it? Yeah, it's good.
Now I tried to pull some pre-show sneakiness here and say, I want you to just think of a card, and I kind of winked at him, hoping that, again, on video, I could make it seem like he's thinking of a card in this moment. He unfortunately said the one from before, right? Which I haven't done a lot of pre-show work at this time, and so my scripting on the pre-show and all this was not good. I should have, in the pre-show moment, before the cameras are rolling, I should have said, hey, I'm going to ask you to think of a card in a little bit. I just want you to think of this card, okay? When I ask you to think of a card, and then it would have been clear. I didn't do any of that. I just thought maybe I could, wing it, let it fly, that whole kind of thing. And this is obviously the backfire. Like, you can imagine if you're doing a pre-show on stage, how horrible this would look if you said, wait, the one from before, right? So the guys who do a lot of pre-show on stage, which any mentalism show for the most part, like stage show, is going to have some pre-show done. It just makes sense, right? That's what you should do in a mentalism show, because you want the cleanest performance on stage. It's not such a big deal on video. That's why I think I included in the edit, I included the moment at the very beginning of the trick when I actually had him think of the card before the Cognito process. So then when he says this, it kind of makes sense on video, and it doesn't really look like I tried to kind of hide the pre-show or anything. I kind of tried to get this sort of miracle, like just think of a card in the moment, kind of how it was. This routine was, I was hoping it would look. Didn't turn out that way, but I still got a pretty nice looking take, I would say. But obviously when I could tell that he was confused by the instruction, I'm just gonna, scrap the whole me trying to pre-show in favor of making sure things go smoothly in this performance. So I just clarify with him, no, the one from before, right? Always just, take the safe option. Don't take the gamble and go from there.
Okay, so just think of a card. You got a card? All right, watch. We can see these cards here. Face up, face down. I want you to look for your card, sort of like he did. But
And realistically, I probably could have edited this in the way I wanted to, like watching it back. I could have just put a small cut in here and just said, for me saying think of a card, and this last moment where he said, yeah, okay, I got one, and I could have just cut out him asking the question. In hindsight, I could have totally done that and still achieved, the effect that I wanted to on video, but regardless, I think this is still a really nice effect.
anything away, nothing at all, okay? All right. You see all of these cards. See, Matt, you can see them here. Keep this image of cards face up and face down in your mind.
So this is a slight variation. So I have a triumph of my own. It's my go-to triumph called the Open Cull Triumph. A lot of people see that and they say, is that Costa Kimlat's triumph? Is it the Caligula triumph? Or a lot of people just assume it is, but it's not. Yes, it uses the same fundamental method, right? It uses the cull. Like pretty much all triumphs where the spectator can shuffle in this way, gonna use the cull in some way. My triumph, maybe I'm biased, but it's better than the Caligula triumph if you're familiar with Costa Kimlat's. His was the original, absolutely credit to that. That's kind of in the name of mine. It's called the Open Cull Triumph. So open is from Danny D'Ortiz's Open Triumph because that also inspired my triumph a little bit. Cull is from Caligula Triumph and then Triumph. So the Open Cull Triumph. So it's, it's fully credited even in the title. His is very difficult to do well. Even if, me, who can cull an entire deck quite proficiently, the beats and the pacing are more difficult in his effect because of how you want it to feel and look. It's not too bad and I can perform his, but mine is a lot more accessible. If you're someone who can just cull a single card, if you took a couple of private lessons with me, I could get you to perform a triumph that looks exactly like this, my Open Cull Triumph, in a couple of lessons. It's not very far out of reach. I've taught tons of my private lesson clients how to do it. It's so much easier because it breaks down the cull into phases and stages. And there's 3 different stages that make it really achievable. I've also built in a couple of beautiful, completely original displays that are super deceptive that allow you to show the deck being completely mixed when it's basically all fixed. Between each phase, you do like these different displays. The pacing, the timing's different, the beats are different, even like the moment of the half pass is different. There's a lot of differences in subtleties, but overall I think where it really shines compared to Caligula Triumph is the ease of performance. Even for myself, who could do either, it just allows me to focus so much more on the performance. I don't have to worry too much about the call. It gives you plenty of options to fix. If you've ever done Caligula Triumph, you'll know if you miss a card or you lose your break or something goes wrong, it's hard to fix. And a lot of the time you don't even know something's went wrong because you might lose a card back into the spread and not even know, and then your whole triumph's ruined. Whereas with my version, you have opportunities to catch that and recheck it and refix it. And it's all built in naturally into the method and the progress. So I haven't released this anywhere. I do lecture on it in my card magic lecture. It absolutely brings the house down. You know, every lecture I do, I'll usually show this at some point and the magicians are just floored. I performed it a whole bunch at Blackpool. People were going crazy for it. I haven't released it yet, but I am considering working on a project, a Triumph-based project. I'm gonna keep it a little bit of a secret as to what exactly it is, but I think that's gonna be the home to learn this. If you do want to learn it now, you can hit me up for a private lesson and I'm happy to teach you. Like I said, if you can call one card decently, I can take you to being able to call one card very well, then being able to call multiple cards, and then doing this in a very short period of time for what it would take if you tried to do it on your own. I've taught so many people to call from scratch to multiple cards and then to ultimately this. So anyway, what I want to say is this is not quite that. This is more the Caligula Triumph just because of the plot. This is not my Triumph. I'm just calling all the cards as I go in one continuous sort of Caligula Triumph style.
Okay? You can remember this chaos, and I want you to remember this moment because in a second, you're not going to believe what you see.
Right. The justification for me going through the cards was just for him to focus and try to look for his card, right? So now the deck is completely sorted. I just have to do one little slip cut and a half pass and we're all clean.
Here's what I'll try.
You can see there's me doing a quick little check, quick little peek. Maybe I wasn't sure if I got them all, so quick little check there. And I think that's another tip. Like if you're not sure on your Triumph, again, it goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of this video. Don't feel pressured. Don't, you know, just say, oh, hopefully I got it, and you know, go into the half pass and clean up. No, slow it down, spread the cards, take a quick peek to yourself, say some kind of justification. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Okay, let me try this. Okay, you know, did you see your card here? Whatever you wanna say, but check. If you missed a few cards, come back down, quickly call them and close the card. I would rather you take your time, fix it, go back. Maybe it's slightly less clean, but who the heck cares from a layman? It's all about what the magicians, you guys are thinking with your magician brain. I made a video all about magician brain. If you want to, you know, cure yours, here's the cure is right up there. Slow it down, save the effect, and you know, it'll pay off in the end.
Look. I don't know where your card is. It might be face up like these ones. It might be face down like these ones, but it's somewhere in this deck. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know anything. But if I just wait, wave my hand over the cards like this, watch. Every single card straightens itself out. In the middle here, there's one card that's turned over. And at the beginning, he's thinking of a card. Do you see your card face up here?
I love the thought of Triumph because if you can do it well, where the card feels truly thought of before the Triumph begins, then this moment is just so impossible when they've never said that card out loud. Honestly, and my favorite way to do this is using Cognito. If you have the access to the app, I think it's just a flawless way because it's truly like a thought of card. Like, yes, you could introduce a billet and do a billet peek, but I don't like that in the context of this routine. I don't think it fits the best. Like, I wouldn't really want to use a peek wallet or whatever. I have a few thought of card systems using a deck of cards. There's my weighted average principle, which I've taught up here. That's a great way to determine a thought of card. So you could do the weighted average principle to figure out the thought of card to start. And then you could go into the Triumph. I've done that before. I have a principle that's even more devious that I love even more. I haven't taught it anywhere. It doesn't even have a name yet. Something that I was showcasing at Blackpool, and it's really killer to determine a thought of card. You know, it's basically like think of a card and you're good to go. So I've used that, and that's probably my favorite way if I'm not using any kind of apps, just with the deck. But simply doing a card force or a card peek is totally fine. I would just segment it, right? So let's say we're gonna use a force. So we'll force this 2 of diamonds. So I go, I'm gonna do my spread force. They say stop. Okay, I'll push it over as I come up and I'll say, okay, remember this card. And then I'll close the deck, hand it to them for a shuffle. Now, again, if you're doing this for video, I would literally do a pre-show and I would say, okay, in a minute, I'm gonna ask you to think of a card and I just want you to think of whatever card you have in your head now, right? Clarify that, and now you can go on video, say, okay, I'm gonna show you guys something, let's try this. Here, mix up the cards, go into the triumph, and then when you get to this point, you could even do it at this point, right? Or where you could even say, think of a card, like once the deck's finished, then you snap, spread. There's different moments. I would probably, and the most of the time I ask them to, you know, think of a card once the cards have been mixed before I sort them. But you could also do it once they're sorted, or you could even, there's an argument you could do it in this moment. Hey, just think of that, you know, a card now when there's only one option. That's kind of cool variation. I'd be curious to see how that would play, but I think the optimal spot is like right after they've been mixed, or maybe during the mixing. And if you execute that properly, that force or that peak, and then you just kind of say, okay, let's try something now. I'm going to show you something now. I think it could be, you know, super, super impressive.
Do you see your card face up here anywhere? For the first time, what's the card you're just thinking of?
Jack of clubs. You like that one?
So, you know what? That got a nice reaction, but I think the reaction was definitely a bit tame because of all the crazy other magic they had seen earlier. Is a Triumph gonna beat the Midas touch, the PK touches that you're gonna see me do in a little bit? I know you see it in different orders in this video, but in the actual set, this is kind of out of order because, you know, I want to close the video with a strong piece. So I really love that Triumph. Like I said, there's lots of different ways to do a Thought of Triumph, but I would recommend you try it out. Just even trying a simple card force and then, you know, making it seem like the trick is starting after you've done the force and just telling them to think of that card again later on. Or there's plenty of different methods, but I think it's really worth checking out.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. I really like some of the tips on dealing with justification, especially when it comes to a Triumph. You know, talking about how to deal with spectators who are a little bit intoxicated. I think that's some really good info. If you guys are interested in anything I talked about in this video, such as learning the influence force or the matchmaker routine, those will be posted on my membership shortly, so you can go check out my Mentalism membership linked in the description if you are interested in learning that and getting some of the best Mentalism content on YouTube. And if you'd like to become a master at the call and eventually learn and be able to perform my Triumph, the only place to do that right now is at a private lesson. If you'd like a private lesson with me, all the information is in the description. There are a bunch of reviews, testimonials at the link. And finally, if you'd like to learn my incredible J30 A-Can, it is also down in the cards below. But with all that said, guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.